Have you ever wondered if history isn't just a series of random, chaotic events, but something more, like a giant cosmic chess match? A game of incredible strategy and sacrifice played out over thousands of years? Well, that's exactly the idea we're diving into today. So let's start with a question that's a real paradox. It asks you to look at what seems like the ultimate defeat in history, the crucifixion, and ask yourself, what if that wasn't a loss at all? What if it was actually the most brilliant, pre-planned winning move in the entire game? Okay, so to really understand the game, we've got to go back to the very beginning. We need to look at the opening move, a move that on the surface looked like it lost everything. This is where the whole board was set and the stakes were established. And here you can see that first, absolutely devastating move. On the left, you've got humanity, basically ruling as king and queen of the board. But then look at the right. They've been captured. The whole board is flipped upside down, the world is cursed, and a new dark player takes control. I mean, the loss was just total. You see, the crucial point here is that Adam's failure wasn't just some personal mistake. It had these massive cosmic consequences. He became totally powerless, he lost his authority, and he plunged the entire world into a state of corruption and death. This is the problem that kicks off the whole multi-thousand-year drama. A king had just given up his throne. But then, right after this catastrophic loss, a countermove is announced. A promise is made that a future champion, a Messiah, is going to arrive. And he's not just coming to fix the problem, he's coming to completely reverse the defeat and crush the enemy. The game was far, far from over. So, with the promise of this Messiah now on the board, the conflict just escalates. History itself becomes the battleground, a long, drawn-out war waged by the opposition to stop this promised champion from ever showing up. And you can see the strategy laid out perfectly right here. These weren't just random, unfortunate events. This was a calculated campaign. From trying to corrupt all of humanity before the flood, to enslaving the Israelites in Egypt, to using massive empires to hunt them down, every single move was designed to cut off the Messiah's family line. And when all of that failed, the attack got personal. This quote, wow, it cuts right to the heart of the antagonist's character. It's telling us this isn't just about a power grab. It's about a fundamental nature. A murderer from the beginning. This really defines the motivation we see throughout this long historical war, the desire to destroy. Okay, now we're getting into what might be the most challenging part of this entire explainer. It's a concept that honestly can feel like a real contradiction. How can an all-good, all-powerful God allow evil to happen as part of his own plan? Let's just ask the question straight up, because it's a profound one. If God knew about these evil acts and, in some sense, permitted them to happen for a greater purpose, does that let the person who did the evil act off the hook? Well, the source material gives us a very specific and surprising answer. And here it is. This is the key. Notice the two distinct parts of this sentence. It says Jesus' death happened according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God. And it was carried out by lawless men who are held responsible. Both things are true at the exact same time. God's ultimate plan and human guilt are not mutually exclusive. So the concept we're talking about here is what you could call divine permission. Think of it like a chess grandmaster who just knows their opponent is about to make a very specific, very aggressive move. The master doesn't force the move, but they anticipate it and use it to set up their own checkmate. The opponent is still 100% responsible for their move, even if it was part of a bigger plan they couldn't even see. And this brings us to the climax of the whole story. After millennia of fighting, Satan makes his boldest move yet. He thinks he's finally cornered the king. But in this cosmic chess match, that move would turn out to be his greatest blunder. And here it is, the complete reversal. What looked like the final triumphant victory for evil, killing the promised Messiah, was actually the very move God had been planning for all along. It was the trap. It was checkmate. Just listen to these words. That is not the voice of a victim. That's the voice of a sovereign player who is in complete control of the board. No one takes it from me. The source makes it crystal clear that Christ wasn't killed against his will. He strategically used his enemy's murderous intent to lay down his own life, turning the ultimate act of evil into the ultimate act of redemption. And what's so incredible is the perfect symmetry of the solution, which you can see laid out right here. The last Adam, Christ,
is the perfect mirror opposite of the first Adam. Where the first Adam listened and fell into sin, the last Adam died to forgive sin. Where the first Adam blamed God, the last Adam submitted to God's will. Every single point of failure was met with a corresponding and even greater victory.
So, what did this checkmate actually achieve? Well, it did 4 huge things. It proved God's law is just and that it can be followed. It provided the one and only path for humanity to be redeemed. It completely sealed the final judgment of Satan. And, maybe most profoundly, it exposed the true, ugly nature of sin. When given the chance, sin's ultimate goal is to eliminate God himself. And finally, there's this really powerful metaphor that just ties this entire cosmic story together, showing us the finality of the judgment through the simple act of crossing a line. You see, in ancient Jerusalem, the Kidron Valley was a real, physical boundary. But in this narrative, it becomes a symbol for something much deeper, a boundary of truth, a divine command. And to cross it without permission is basically to declare rebellion. So think about it. Back in the Garden of Eden, Satan metaphorically crossed this boundary of truth. He trespassed against God's command to go after the first Adam, and he led him to his fall. That was the first act of rebellion on this battlefield. And then, thousands of years later, he does the exact same thing again. On the night Jesus was arrested, he and his disciples cross the actual Kidron Valley to the Garden of Gethsemane. And Satan follows, crossing that same boundary of truth, this time to capture and kill the last Adam. But this time, his trespass seals his own doom. So what's the endgame here? The core argument is that the crucifixion ripped the mask off of evil for good. It showed that it's not just about simple disobedience, it's about decide, the desire to literally remove God from the throne. And so the question this whole cosmic chess match leaves us with is this: what does it reveal about the nature of sin if its ultimate goal is to destroy its own creator? That's the final move we're left to ponder.